For the very first time ever, the engineers and developers that brought you AlphaTheta and 30 years of Pioneer DJ products has finally released its very first professional rotary DJ mixer. So, is it analog? Is it digital? How does it sound? Is there EQ? Is there a crossfader? What do you mean that it sounds better when you play it into the red? Let's find out. Greetings, knowledge seekers. The force is with you. My name is Priyan Joni, and I'm excited to finally show you the AlphaTheta Euphonia 4-channel professional rotary DJ mixer. If you want to see a full technical rundown of this mixer, check out Pioneer DJ USA's full overview with AlphaTheta product demonstrator Matt Play. He does a great job deep diving into the power of the Euphonia top to bottom, and you can watch that right here. So full disclosure, some of you might already know, I'm an official product demonstrator for Pioneer DJ and AlphaTheta. But this video is not produced in partnership or collaboration with them. It's just my personal take on what I find exciting about it while it's still here with me. Keep in mind, this is a demonstration and not a review. I'm not here to tell you if you should like it. Rather, I'm here to provide some information and maybe some unique insight so you can decide that for yourself. This video, however, is brought to you by Direct Music Service. If you've ever wondered where DJs get all their music, they subscribe to services like Direct Music Service. DMS is full of unique edits and remixes from different genres of music, and they even have a mobile app that links to your Dropbox that lets you listen, pick, and download tracks while you're on the go. Save money on your subscription with the discount codes I left below. While hip-hop DJing called for a small and portable mixer with fast-moving faders, rotary mixers were larger and heavier and were made for permanent installs at discotheques and clubs where DJs would mix with long transitions. Through the 80s to the mid-90s, they were favored by house and techno DJs, not only because the Rotary Knobs allowed for slow, gradual mix transitions, but because the analog circuitry made blends sound so good. When two tracks are on top of each other, they sound more glued together rather than getting muddy or too clicky. While mixers today aim for a more accurate, detailed, and neutral sound, analog mixers, especially rotary mixers, aimed for a specific character that made blends sound more satisfying. In fact, rotary mixer enthusiasts like my good friend Mojax will always tell you how rotary mixers can be forgiving when it comes to imperfect mixes. Like when you're slightly offset with your beat match, or if two tracks aren't in the same key, or if there's a lot of energy in specific areas of the frequencies of two tracks. So is Euphonia a digital or analog mixer? Euphonia is a digital mixer with an analog Rupert Neve transformer on the output stage. If you're familiar with music production, Rupert Neve is known for mixing desks and analog circuitry used in world-class professional recording studios. The Neve transformer in Euphonia adds a compression and harmonic character to the sound when you drive the audio into the sweet spot, and you can see exactly when it does in the meter on the display. See this area right here where there's white and red? That would be the sweet spot. Euphonia has ESS technology, analog to digital and digital to analog 32-bit converters, along with a 64-bit floating point DSP. Say that 3 times as fast. It's virtually impossible to distort, and you can get the cleanest and most accurate sound before it even hits the Neve transformer. I know we're all taught to never set your gain into the red, which is a great general practice for most DJ gear. But when you crank the Euphonia, I'm going to turn up my trim, bring up all my EQ. There's plenty of headroom to keep you from clipping, but also brings you into the sweet spot into the Neve transformer. While I'm not suggesting to crank it this hard with the EQ all maxed out, I dare to say Euphonia does actually sound better when you play it into the red, right when the transformer is actually working it. So before I keep going, I want to make this point comparing other DJ gear's sound quality. ESS technology 32-bit converters are on other Pioneer DJ devices. It's on the DJM V10, DJM S11, DJM A9, and even the Opus Quad. Now I know some of you might already know this, but many people don't. Sound quality isn't just the frequency response and character of the sound, or the neutrality of the sound, but it's also the dynamic range. All 5 of these devices, including the Euphonia, will give you great signal to noise ratio and even high headroom. This is why you can crank it and not clip, but also why you don't hear hissing noise if you play it really quiet. The real difference between each one of those devices is the voicing of their character. On the DJM A9 and Opus Quad, they have a more neutral and accurate voicing and very tight transients. You can hear exactly what's going on in the sound. If there's a slight offset to your beat match, you can hear the tiniest detail of it. Like when you hear two kick drums that are just slightly offset. With the A9 and the Opus Quad, when you're mixing song to song, especially if you're a producer, the audience will experience the details you hear in the studio, granted that you're playing on a high-end sound system. On the V10, it's slightly different. By slightly extending the transients of the signal, you need the signal glued together, which creates the warm sound of the V10 and why it sounds smoother with slight offsets. Now, a fun fact. The DJM S11, which is a Serato battle mixer, has a voicing closer to the V10. So, finally getting to my long-winded point. Euphonia uses an actual analog circuit, the Neve transformer, that compresses and saturates the sound beyond a certain volume level. So up to a certain volume level, right before the marking of the sweet spot, it sounds just like the A9. It's that accurate. When you push it, a satisfying amount of compression and distortion, the good kind, gets applied to the sound, giving it that analog character. So despite being a digital mixer, it results in a rich analog sound because it's using an actual analog circuit on the output stage. You can add character to a single song by cranking it into the sweet spot or even into the red. Or you can make your blend sound good and glued together when two or more tracks are overlapping. The EQ is here if you wish to do performative EQ mixing, but one of the best ways to appreciate the Neve transformer is to first try it without using EQ. It's kind of like a bowl of pho. Hear me out. With a bowl of pho, not DJ pho, you really don't appreciate the taste of the broth unless you try it first without the lime juice, hoisin sauce, or sriracha. If you've never used a rotary mixer before, experiment mixing on this without the EQ first. Now, the sound is great for using with standalone CDJs as well as vinyl turntables. And by the way, the phono preamps are kick-ass on this. It even adds character to the sound quality to the recording when it's used with Rekordbox or Serato DJ software. And yes, by the way, from launch, it's Rekordbox Performance Mode and Serato DJ Pro compatible. It's a hardware unlocked device for Rekordbox, including DVS, no additional subscriptions needed. And for Serato, if you're only using CDJs in HID mode, you only need the Serato DJ Pro activation. For DVS use, you'll need to add the DVS activation to an existing Serato DJ Pro license, or if you don't already have the Serato DJ Pro license, simply get the Serato DJ Club Kit, which is the Serato DJ Pro activation plus DVS. And I can already hear the standalone folks asking, why would you use this mixer with a laptop? And the simple answer is, because it can make the recording into the laptop sound better. Sometimes some folks want to try their playlist before they export it, or they're a Serato user that wants to try out a Rotary for the first time. All right, let's move on to features. The Rotary knobs on the channels, the isolators, are tuned specifically for the DJs who both love doing slow and long blends and also need fast movements in their performance. The knobs are built with a variable resistant mechanism. What that means is that there is more resistance when you move it slow and less resistance when you need to move it fast. On this mixer, there isn't a crossfader. Sorry, scratch DJs, but the majority of Rotary mixers don't. But it does include trim and EQ per channel, which early Rotary mixers didn't have. Those early Rotary mixers simply had a volume knob and a pan control. So that means without a trim knob, your gain and your volume was one pot. Having a separate trim knob gives you that standardized feel of modern DJ mixers after the 90s of allowing you to crank the main volume all the way to max, balancing the volume between channels. Not having a trim pot is something we can leave back in the old school. And for those old school Rotary mixers without an EQ, those DJs would have to have a separate 3-band isolator device, which the Euphonia also has. The isolators here are tuned for performance. Each band can fully kill, and the crossover points are intentionally set. The lows cut the kicks and the bass really nicely, while the highs are set at the sizzle point. That means you can boost and cut the highs without it catching too much of the harsh frequencies. While you can always cut the frequency bands, you can set the isolator knob to different boost values using the switch right here. You have the option for 6 decibel, 12 decibel, or 0 decibel for no cut at all. When it's at 0, turning it up will do nothing. So what's the point of no cut? It's for when you're applying effects to each frequency, which we'll talk about shortly. But before we continue, if you're finding value to this video, please like this video, click that subscribe button, along with that little bell icon. 90% of you who watch my videos aren't even subscribed to my channel, and it would help me bring more videos like this. So please like, subscribe, and click that little bell icon. By the way, if you're looking for my lightsaber content, check out my new channel, Lightsaber Culture. So effects on the Euphonia work a little differently from the standard beat effects and color effects you find on most club mixers. It has what's called send effects, and there are 6, plus an option for an external effects unit. The effects module has a BPM detection feature which has been on Pioneer DJ mixers for decades and is one of the most accurate in the industry. Euphonia doesn't have Pro DJ Link, so the auto BPM detection is what syncs the effects tempo to the playing track. And as with all Pioneer DJ and AlphaTheta products, you can also tap the tempo in. It has a special time beat duration knob. When you're using tempo-dependent effects like delay, tape echo, or echo verb, the knob will click in place to each specific beat duration. It also has an in-between beat duration which allows you to do special beat durations like triplets and polymeters. Texture effects like reverb and shimmer, the knob is smooth without any clicks. The parameter knob can control specific parameters depending on the effect. The return knob controls the overall volume of the effects signal. Now to send the channel to the effects, you have a send knob for each channel instead of an on-off button. Notice that the design language of this mixer is about granular knob twisting. The send knob allows you to control the amount of signal that goes to the send effects. Now let's go through each effect. The high pass filter is straightforward. It turns the send knob into a filter. The beat duration knob and the return knob doesn't do anything, but the parameter knob becomes resonance. Now let's try delay. Tape echo. Echo verb, which is echo with reverb. Reverb. And shimmer. So real quick mention about the external effects. There's also a button here called Master Insert, and the back of the unit has 2 pairs of send and returns. I don't have any external effects units to show this, but I'll walk you through it. The section that says Send Effects External is for effects units with a wet-dry control you can set completely wet. EFX 500 and EFX 1000s are examples, which lets you set it completely wet. Master Insert are for effects with a fixed wet-dry setting that you can't control, like the RMX 1000 and the RMX 500. And also, if you're using any type of filter effect or external isolator. The sends also have a mono summed out and a mono summed in for when you're using effects that are mono only, like guitar pedals. Now that we got the effects down, let's talk about the isolator boost send. Each button above the isolator arms the send effects for that specific frequency band. When you turn a knob up to boost, it will boost both the band and the send effects in that band. So I'm going to put this on tape echo, 1.5 beat duration, parameter set to middle. Now check out how you can make hi-hat syncopations with the hi. I'm going to do this at 12 dB now. And when you turn it the other way, you can still cut the band as normal without any effects. There's an LED above the button that indicates when the effects is engaged when you turn the knob. So you'll know exactly when the effect is off when you bring back the knob to 12. Now, remember how you can switch the boost to 6 decibels, 12 decibels, or 0? If you only want the knob to engage only the effect, set it to 0 dB. When you turn the boost knob up, you only get the effect on that band without the band boosted. Tongue twister, I know, but here we go. It's kind of like the effects frequency buttons on the beat effects of the DJM A9 and DJM V10, but with the addition of band knobs. Fun little trick you can do. If you want the buttons to act exactly like the effects frequency buttons, simply crank the isolator knobs to max on a 0 dB boost, and you can use the send buttons as effects frequency toggles. So I'm going to keep this off. The color display is called the energy visualizer. There are 2 display modes. The VU meter mode emulates how a physical analog VU meter looks like. Each channel is color-coded so you can see exactly what each channel is doing. So when I play a track on channel 2, it's the orange meter. When I play a track on channel 3, it's the green meter. Channel 1 is blue, and channel 4 is purple. The meters on the display are actually pulse fader, unlike the channel LED meters. So with the channel volume down, I can see the channel meters here, but I only see them move on the VU meter when I'm cranking up the channel volume. And like I said earlier, it actually tells you where the sweet spot is for the Neve transformer. Play into the white, and you have moderate saturation, while cranking it into the red, you get a lot stronger of an effect. Now when you switch the visualizer to another mode, you can also see the visualizer's channel meters side by side. That's channel 2, that's channel 3. And in both modes, there's a spectrum analyzer that lets you see the level of the entire frequency band. And when you manipulate the isolator, you can actually see the effect of the isolator against the unaffected signal. See that line? Here, let's switch views, it'll be easier to see here. Because I know you'll ask, here are some of the other features worth mentioning. It has 1 microphone input with an XLR TRS combo jack with talkover, and the booth output has a 2-band EQ. Also, the booth output on the rear has mono summing. If you're just going to use one output, use the left one. Speaking of outputs, the booth has TRS 1/4-inch balance outs, the master is balanced XLR outputs, and the record output is unbalanced RCA. For inputs, you can digitally connect CDJs with the 4 SPDIF inputs. Each channel also has an RCA line and phono input, and as I mentioned before, it has amazing phono preamps. Connectivity to a Mac or PC is done with the USB Type-C port, and it does have a locking IEC power cable. Now, if you really need a mixer with a crossfader but still has that warm sound, check out the 6-channel DJM V10 over here, or the 2-channel battle mixer, the DJM S11. Watch this now.